All right, good morning. See Mr. Weeds joined us, Mr. Roberts.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Weed, good morning. Can you hear and see me okay?
Good morning. Yes, I can, Your Honor.
All right, for the record, this is case 19 CF 2625A, State of Florida versus Justin Haynes. And as I understand it, we're here today on defense motion to dismiss due to alleged immunity. Mr. Roberts, that's your motion, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and everyone ready to proceed this morning?
Thank you, ready, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
As well. All right, and I think the current status of the law is that the state has the burden of proof. You ready to call your first witness, Mr. Weed?
Your Honor, before he calls his witness, I'd like to invoke the rule of sequestration for the other officers, please, and all witnesses.
All right. Those witnesses that are present on this Zoom connection, there's been a rule of procedure been invoked whereby you'll be required to remain outside the presence of this hearing until you are called to testify. And the rule also requires you not discuss the case amongst yourselves nor with anyone. There's an exception to that. You can discuss it with either of the attorneys if you wish, but make sure that if you choose to do so, you do it in a secure private location. And Mr. Weed, if you'll call the witnesses that are currently present, and counsel will be responsible for advising the other individual witnesses that may be called of the court's ruling.
And Your Honor, the witnesses for the state are Officer William Yeager, Officer Robert Amos, Officer Joseph White, Jack Williams, Jasmine Perkins, and Investigator Jerome Megna.
Okay, I missed the second one. I got Yeager and White. Who is in between the two?
Robert Amos.
A-M-O-S?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Yeager, Amos, White, Williams, Perkins, correct?
And last one, Investigator Megna.
Spell that for me.
M-E-G-N-A.
Okay, and are they all present on this meeting currently?
Yes, sir. I see them all.
All right, and did all of you hear the court's order concerning the rule of sequestration being imposed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
And defense have any witnesses, Mr. Roberts?
Yes, Your Honor. I have Dr. Benedict, but all my witnesses, I instructed them that they will not come on, and I'll contact them when it's time for them to come on.
Okay.
So only witness I've seen was Dr. Benedict, and I think that he has removed himself from the Zoom.
All right, that probably would be the most prudent way of proceeding. Who's going to be your first witness, Mr. Weed?
Robert Amos.
Robert Amos. All right, Mr. Amos, if you'll remain, the rest of you, if you'll go ahead and just close out your connection here, and Mr. Weed will notify you. I assume he has contact information, notify you when you need to log back on to the meeting. That acceptable, Mr. Weed?
Yes, sir. Or you could put him in the waiting room.
All right, I can attempt to do that. Let's see here. You said Amos was first?
Yes, sir.
And just a procedural point, did Mr. A, I don't recall seeing a physical report that was provided by Officer Amos. Am I mistaken about that?
I believe there is a report.
I don't remember. Okay. That's fine. I know you supplemented with telling me about him, but I didn't see a physical report. Okay.
Hard to identify folks by name here, but okay, there's White. Any still with us, witnesses? We've got Isaac Schuler, Mr. Akbar, I'm sure, is he associated with the case as a witness or as a counsel?
Co-counsel, Your Honor.
Co-counsel. Thank you, Mr. Ackman. And then we have Tiffany Brown.
Yes, Your Honor. She works in my office and assisting me, Your Honor.
Okay. Then we have the bailiff Perkins. I assume that's a witness.
Yes, sir.
Associated with that. I'll go ahead and put Perkins into the waiting room. Anyone else you see?
Yeah, Jack Williams.
Jack Williams. Okay. And then we have Isaac Schuler.
Yes, sir.
Is he with?
Yes, sir. I'm with Court Administration out of Second Circuit.
Okay.
Just here in case there's an issue.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right. You ready to proceed then with your first witness, Mr. Weed?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mr. Amos, if you would please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. And Mr. Weed, you may inquire.
And sir, please state your name
Robert Amos, AMOS.
and your occupation.
I'm a police officer with the city of Tallahassee.
And how long have you been a police officer with the city of Tallahassee?
Just over 8 years.
All right. Were you on duty on July 29th of 2019 at around 9:30 p.m.?
I was.
At that time, did you respond to a 1021 Preston Street in Tallahassee, Florida?
Yes, sir.
And what was the purpose of responding to that address?
There was a call put in for service for a individual who had been shot.
All right. So did you eventually arrive at 1021 Preston Street?
I did.
And were other officers present when you arrived?
Yes, they were.
And do you know who those officers were?
Without going back and reading the call notes, I couldn't tell you everybody.
All right. Was one of those officers Stephen Britt?
I believe I heard his voice on my body camera video. Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, upon arriving at the residence, did you or any other officers go to the front door of the residence?
There were already officers at the front door when I arrived, so I did not actually make it to the front door.
All right. While other officers were at the front door, what did you do?
I walked around the perimeter of the home looking for signs of life inside, lights on, TVs, people maybe moving around.
All right. Could you hear if anyone was inside the home?
I could not.
Could you tell if anyone was inside the home by movement or some kind of visual indication?
The only thing that I believe I observed were some lights on, some bedrooms on the back of the house.
All right. While you were at the rear of the home, did you eventually enter the home?
We did, yes.
And why did you enter the home?
Another officer observed the victim lying on the floor. At that point, the decision was made to try to breach the door and get in the home to render aid.
All right. And what door did y'all use to enter the home?
Door on the side of the house, I believe it was the west side.
All right. Upon entering the home, what did you see?
There was a female lying on the floor in the living room with some visible injuries that needed to be tended to.
All right. Did other officers enter the home with you at the same time?
Yes.
All right. Did anyone provide aid to the woman on the floor?
Officers were providing aid. Yes, they were.
All right. While other officers were providing aid, what did you do?
I conducted basically a sweep of the house to make sure there was no other injured parties in any of the other rooms.
All right. Now, was there anybody else in the home besides the injured?
I believe there was a child that eventually was taken out by another officer.
All right. And anybody else found in the house besides that young child?
Not to my recollection.
Now, in searching the house, did one of the bedrooms have what appeared to be a significant amount of blood?
Yeah, I believe the back right bedroom, upon opening the door, there was blood on the door, on the floor, on the bed.
All right. And did you search that room?
I mean, we did. I wouldn't say necessarily searched it, but we did make sure there were no other bodies laying around in the closet. Any doors that were shut, we opened, looked next to the bed.
All right. Was a dog found in that room, that same room?
There was. Dog was located in the closet.
All right. Was the closet, the doors to the closet closed or open when you located the dog?
The doors were closed.
Okay. When you found the dog, what did the dog do?
It kind of just came out and was looking to just kind of go away. It wasn't trying to attack us or anything. It was just wanting to not be in that room anymore.
All right. Was the dog exhibiting any sort of aggressive behavior?
Not while we were present.
All right. Now, on July 29th of 2019, when you responded to 1021 Preston Street, were you equipped with a body camera?
I was.
All right. Did you have your body camera on and recording when you responded to 1021 Preston Street?
I did.
Now, does your body camera record audio as well as video?
It does.
Have you viewed the video recording from your body camera from July 29th of 2019?
I have.
All right. At this point, I want to show you an exhibit, and let me see if I can get this to share the screen. You see a screen that's basically white and background that says Robert Amos?
Yes, sir.
All right. I next want to show you State's Exhibit A. You recognize, I know the video is paused there, but do you recognize that video?
It appears to be the start of my video based upon me recently looking at it.
All right. And is the video that you recorded from that night that you viewed before, is that a true and accurate video recording from your body camera that depicts you responding to 1021 Preston Street on July 29th of 2019?
Yes, sir.
All right. And I don't know if you need for me to play just a few seconds of it to recognize this video, but let me go ahead and play just a few seconds just so you can recognize it.
Okay.
All right. Is that enough for you to recognize this video?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's approximately 8 minutes or 47 seconds long. Is that the video that you viewed before that was true and accurate?
I couldn't tell you the actual time frame on it without going back and looking at it, but
All right. But does this appear to be that video?
it does.
All right. Your Honor, I'd ask that we publish the rest of the video at State's Exhibit A and be entered into evidence and made a part of the record basically by showing the recording that's already been recorded by the court administration.
All right, any objection, Mr. Roberts?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, A will be admitted and you may publish it, and that exhibit needs to be provided to the clerk of the court for filing as well.
All right. All right, Officer Amos, was that a true and accurate depiction of from your body camera on July 29th of 2019?
It is. I do believe now that you've stopped it there that there's more to that video.
Yes.
Just for the record.
Yes, thank you. Have any other questions?
All right, cross-examination. You want to remove that, or did you want to question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It looks like it's playing again on the screen.
Yeah.
All right. Cross-exam, Mr. Roberts.
Yes, briefly, Officer Amos, when you came to the house, there was a dog present, is that correct?
We located one, yes, sir.
Okay, and also present was Mr. Haynes and his child, is that correct?
I actually never had contact with the child or the male, so if you're saying that's who was there, then yes, sir.
Okay, but you do remember them being in, Mr. Haynes and his child being in the house, is that correct?
I remember the child being taken out. If you're asking specifically if I ever observed Mr. Haynes, I cannot tell you that.
Okay, then no questions, Your Honor.
All right. Any redirect?
Yes, sir. And Officer Amos, was the child out in the hallway or the living room area where the victim was?
I don't recall. I remember when I came out of that front left bedroom, an officer was bringing him from the back of the house.
Okay. All right. Thank you. No more questions.
Anything else based on that, Mr. Roberts?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. And can this witness be excused?
He can, Your Honor.
All right, you're free to go. Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Officer Amos. Call your next witness.
William Yeager.
William Yeager. Let's see, to the. don't see, maybe I'm overlooking here. I don't see Mr. Yeager on here. Do you see him? Can you see the list, Mr. Weed?
Let me see if I can.
In the waiting area, I see Williams, White, and Majagna.
And Your Honor, we can call Officer White next if call him out of order.
Okay. Go ahead and him. There we go. Mr. White, can you hear and see me?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Can I get you to raise your right hand to be sworn, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you. All right, you may inquire, Mr. Weed.
Sir, please state your name and occupation.
Morning. Yes, my name is Officer Joseph White, and I'm a police officer with the Tallahassee Police Department.
Were you on duty with the Tallahassee Police Department on July 29th of 2019 around 9:30 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
At that time, did you respond to a 1021 Preston Street in Tallahassee, Florida?
Yes, sir.
And what was the purpose of responding to that residence?
We got a 911 call saying that a female was dying from a gunshot wound.
All right. When you arrived at 1021 Preston Street, were other officers present?
Yes, sir, there were.
All right. And what were the other officers present there when you arrived doing?
So when I first got there, when I came up, there were a few other officers knocking and banging on the front door of the residence.
All right. Did anybody immediately answer the front door?
No, sir. It took several minutes.
Okay. Did you go to the to anywhere else in that around the home besides the front?
I did. Since they were knocking, we had there were large curtains on the front of the residence.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I decided, hey, we might as well, just in case if someone's actually shot or dying inside, go around to the side, try and gain access either through the side or through the rear.
Okay. Did you eventually enter the home?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. And where did you enter the home from? Which door?
It was through the west door. So it's on the side of the house that had like a little mini staircase leading to a platform, which led to the inside through the side of the house.
All right. Upon entering the home, what did you see?
So before I even really entered, I shone my light inside and actually saw Miss Perkins laying on the ground inside, which caused all the officers, at least on the side, to run inside. When I came inside, we saw Miss Perkins obviously shot. She was bleeding out. Saw a AK-47 on the table somewhat next to her. I also saw a little child standing kind of near her and crying and upset.
Okay. So the young child wasn't in a room, but was standing outside of a bedroom?
As far as I remember, yes, sir.
All right. And what did you do upon seeing all this?
So immediately, especially with what we're trained, we're trying to stop the bleed as best as we can. Started rendering medical aid to Ms. Perkins.
Okay. Now, how was Ms. Perkins clothed whenever you first encountered her in the home?
She was almost completely naked, and she was completely naked with the exception of underwear.
Okay. And whenever you say underwear, are you saying panties around her waist?
Yes, sir. Yeah, just panties. If I'm not mistaken, they were actually purple panties. That's all she was wearing.
All right. And could you describe the injuries that you saw on her?
Sure. So there was a gunshot wound, looked like a through and through on the right side on her upper thigh area. So you had the injuries over there on the upper left thigh. It was almost like something exploded in her thigh. It was so, I could basically put my hand inside of there and I could see the femur. I could see every fatty tissue bleeding really heavily. And then on her left hand, it almost looked like she was holding on to a firecracker or something like that. I mean, her hand was just completely mangled and destroyed.
All right. Now, did emergency medical personnel arrive also?
They did, yes, sir.
All right. Eventually, was Ms. Perkins transported away from the scene?
Yes, sir. She was by ambulance.
All right. Now, did you ride with Ms. Perkins in the ambulance?
I did.
All right. And where was she taken in the ambulance?
She was taken up to Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. They called a trauma alert. She was placed into one of the trauma bays up there.
Okay. Now, while in the ambulance, on the way to the hospital, were you able to take photographs of any of the injuries Ms. Perkins had?
I did, yes, sir.
All right. Do you know how many photographs you were able to take?
I took 3.
All right. And why only 3?
I don't want to sit and interfere with the paramedics and all the firefighters, everybody trying to work to save her life, stop the bleed, anything that we can do to help her out. I don't want to interfere with that only by photographs. I'm trying to, as they're working, to also take photographs and at the same time.
All right. Now, I want to show you 2 exhibits. Basically, States Exhibit 1 and 2. And I'm going to share the screen so that you can see them.
Okay.
Hold on, let me. Oh. Okay. Are you able to see a white screen where it says, in black letters says Officer White Photos?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, all right. Now, I want to show you States Exhibit 1 and 2, but have you viewed States Exhibit 1 and 2 before?
I have, yes, sir.
All right. Is States Exhibit 1 and 2 true and accurate photographs of the injuries that you took of Ms. Perkins the night of July 29, 2019?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
All right. And Your Honor, with that, I'd like to admit and publish States Exhibit 1 and 2.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
1 and 2 will be admitted.
All right. So first, States Exhibit 1, if you could just describe what we're looking at.
So we'll start at basically what she's wearing. Everything from her is just naked, with the exception of the purple underwear that you see. At the top portion of your screen, you're looking at that's going to be her right leg, and then the left leg's on the bottom portion. If you look on the inner thigh, you're going to see, what appears to be either an entrance or exit wound. It's some type of wound, which was bleeding. And then on the left side of her thigh, you have the, almost like how I kind of described, like an explosion or some sort, where it's very deep. If you look deep enough and you look in there, you can actually see, like I said, femur. You see all the fatty tissue. It was bleeding very heavily. From that's actually where the tourniquet was applied from. And then on her left hand, it's just completely mangled, and multiple fingers are just, almost gone.
All right. Now, States Exhibit 2, what are we looking at in States Exhibit 2?
That's a little better or worse, depending on how you look at it, of the picture of her left hand. It just basically shows that the hand was just completely, shot.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you. I don't have any more questions.
Very well. Cross-examination, Mr. Roberts.
Yes, Officer White, thank you. When you rode to the hospital with Miss Perkins, you had a chance to speak with her, isn't that correct?
Briefly, yes, sir.
Yes. Excuse me?
Yes, sir.
And in your report that you wrote on 729, you captured what was said in your interactions with Miss Perkins, isn't that correct?
Depending on what portion it was, a lot of the times, especially when I go into an ambulance and or inside of a hospital. Sometimes the body camera is not turned on. I'm not entirely sure which portion of that was captured on body camera versus what wasn't.
Sir, I'm asking you what you wrote in your report, not on your body camera. You wrote a report, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
You want to pull that up? His report. What I'll do is, for purposes of your recollection, I'll pull up your report, okay? Did you have a chance to review it before
Okay,
today's
absolutely.
date? Excuse me?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay.
Yes, sir, I did.
All right.
Sorry,
And
you're
then
breaking up in and out.
Yeah, and in your report, actually the final page of your report, you stated, and go to his, and I'm pulling it up now.
Okay.
Go to page 2. Oh yeah, right, yeah, yeah. Is that hold on. The next page? I think the next page. Okay. Do you see it says once the victim was stabilized? You see that? Is that a reflection of your report, Officer White? I mean,
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you had a chance to speak with Ms. Perkins. Isn't
Yes,
it
sir.
true Ms. Perkins never said that Justin Haynes tried to kill or harm her? Isn't that correct?
She did. From my understanding and everything, she was shot by Justin Haynes.
I understand that. And there's no question. No one's debating that she was shot by Justin Haynes. My question to you, isn't it true that she never said Justin Haynes tried to kill her? Isn't that correct?
As far as I know, and as far as what I can see in the reports, or no,
Okay.
that line is not in there.
Okay. And if she said Justin Haynes tried to harm or kill her, you would have put that in your report as a good officer, wouldn't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And also, too, you asked her specifically, had her dog attacked anyone in the home that night or any time? And she said no. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
And also, just make sure I didn't miss anything. And also, just for officer purposes, just your training and experience as an officer, you're familiar with the use of force and the use of force that needs to be exhibited by a reasonable officer under the circumstance where threat is present to you. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And isn't it true that under your use of force and how you're trained that you can use force against a dog that you perceive as a threat? Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's not uncommon for police officers to encounter dogs that are threats to them. Is that correct?
All the time, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And it's not uncommon for police officers to shoot at dogs or kill dogs when they perceive a dog as a threat. Is that correct? Sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you
Yes,
were
sir.
to use, yeah, and if you were to use force and neutralize or kill that dog, the threat that you perceive is from your perception, the reasonable officer, like for example, Officer White, is what you perceived as a threat, not what the world perceives, but what you perceive, not what your sergeant, your other officers, the general public, but what you perceive as a threat in your mind. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir. It is.
And that's based on your training and experience, and is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in this case, it's your knowledge, isn't it correct that Justin Haynes, from
Your
what
Honor, Your Honor, I'm gonna object at this point, and really I object to all these questions as to asking this officer about the reasonable use of force. That's something for the finder of fact to determine, and not for some witness to give their opinion about.
Okay, response?
Your Honor, it's just simple. I just wanted to just bring out this is the issue with stand your ground, and the motion for stand your ground is 100% about the mind state of Justin Haynes when he used force. And I'm just asking the officer his understanding of what the use of force is, and just using that as a juxtaposed to Mr. Haynes. That's all this is. This is a motion hearing, this is not trial, and that's only the purpose of getting that information out.
The first of all, the objection's untimely as to the questions already asked and answered. As to the last question, it is argumentative and an issue for the trier of fact, and the objection sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor, but no further questions.
Okay, any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. And can this witness be excused?
He may.
Officer White, you're free to go.
Yes, have a good one. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good day. Thank you. Call your next witness, please.
Jack Williams.
Jack Williams. All right, Mr. Williams, if you would please raise your right hand to be sworn.
Yes, sir.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I do.
May I inquire, Mr. Weed.
Sir, please state your name
Jack Edward Williams II.
and your occupation.
I'm a forensic specialist with the Tallahassee Police Department.
All right. And what are your duties as a forensic specialist?
We are non-sworn personnel who respond to various scenes at the request of investigators and our officers, where we document, collect, and preserve evidence.
All right. On July 30th of 2019, did you respond to the Tallahassee Animal Service Center to take photographs of the dog?
Yes, sir.
And is that relating to a criminal case in which Jasmine Perkins was the victim?
Yes, sir.
All right. And did you take photographs of that dog?
I did.
Have you had an opportunity to look at States Exhibits 3 through 8, photographs of the dog?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are States Exhibit 3 through 8 true and accurate photographs of the dog that you took in relation to this case?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd ask that States Exhibit 3 through 8 be entered and published.
Any objection?
I'm sorry, no objection.
All right. 3 through 8 photographs will be admitted.
All right. Mr. Williams, do you see a white screen that has black letters that says Jack Williams on it?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, all right. Going to next slide, States Exhibit 3. Do you recognize that? Is that the dog that you took photographs of?
Yes, sir.
And States Exhibit 4 and,
Yeah.
and 5. What is States Exhibit 5 a photograph of?
It is a photograph of the dog's left hind leg, rear leg, with an injury to it.
All right. And next, States Exhibit 6. Is that a photograph of that same injury, just closer up?
Yes, sir, it's the same, close up with a scale.
Yeah. And States Exhibit 7, is this a photograph of that same dog and injury to the other leg?
Yes, sir, it'll be to the right leg. Yes, sir, the other leg.
And States Exhibit 8, is that just a closer view of that injury to the right leg?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, thank you. No more questions.
All right. Cross-examination, Mr. Roberts.
Just briefly, Your Honor, Mr. Williams, was the injuries to the dog from gunshot wound?
I can't positively say that. I can say that it may be consistent with a gunshot wound.
Okay. In your opinion, or just without, not your opinion, just your view, taking photos of the dog, is it consistent with anything else other than a gunshot wound?
Not that I could specifically tell.
Okay. And how tall would you think, do you believe the dog was, or did you, because I'm seeing you have measurements, you take a height and weight of the dog?
No, sir, I did not. Maybe the vet probably took that information, but I did not. No, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any redirect, Mr. Weed?
Yes, sir. Mr. Williams, from the States Exhibit 8 that's there on the screen, it looks like that's a 3-inch scale that's being held up to the hind leg of the dog. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. And that 3-inch scale, it pretty much looks like the hind leg from the hip, from around the hip to the, I don't know if you call this the knee joint, is about 3 inches. Is that right?
It is possible. It depends on if the scale was placed directly against the leg.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell in this photograph if it was.
Yeah. Let's see. Just to give it a little bit more scale, is the dog's leg, and you can see it standing next to a person.
Yes, sir.
What is that, approximately from the floor to the hip? 8 inches, 10 inches? What would you estimate that to be?
I would estimate it to be maybe between 10 and 12 inches, maybe.
And the injury halfway up the dog's leg, from the floor up, what would you approximate that to be?
Just a general approximation, maybe 6 to 8 inches.
All right.
If I had to make an approximation.
Okay. All right. Thank you. No more questions.
Anything based on that, Mr. Roberts?
Yes, the quick follow-up on that. Mr. Williams, so if that dog, that wound is consistent with a gunshot or some type of projectile entering the dog's hind legs, it would be consistent with whatever device, whatever the firearm was, being aimed in a downward trajectory. Would that be consistent with that?
And it would also depend on the position of the dog, where the dog was at in the room, if the dog was on the floor or not.
Okay,
And
let's take the position the dog is on the floor. That
Yes.
means that whoever is trying to shoot at that dog was aiming downwards towards that dog. Is that correct?
It would be a fairly low shot as it entered.
Okay, and just how the dog looks on the floor, again, it's a different angle. Like if you're shooting, let's say at a human being, you would shoot at a different trajectory if you're shooting at an animal as opposed to a human being. Would you agree with that statement?
And then again, I'd have to know the relation.
No, I'm talking about the relationship. Excuse me. I'm talking about this.
Go ahead.
I'm talking about this dog in reference to and let's say the vet to his left on the screen. If you're trying to injure or harm an animal, you'll be shooting at a different angle than you would if you're trying to, let's say, stop or neutralize an adult or adult man or adult woman. It'd be a different shooting angle. Would that be correct or fair to say?
Yes, sir. It would be fair to say that you would probably shoot downwards towards an animal, as far as, it's him standing there opposed to an adult standing erect.
All right, thank you. That's all.
Yes, sir.
Any follow-up to that, Mr. Weed?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, and can this witness be excused?
He may.
You're free to go, Mr. Williams. Thank you.
Thank
sir.
you.
Good day.
Yes, sir. You too.
Oh, your next witness?
Your Honor, I don't know if William Yeager is in the waiting room or not, but if not,
He is now, yes.
oh, okay. Well, then there we go.
William Yeager. Mr. Yeager? If your microphone is muted and we don't see any.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, can't see you.
Okay. Is a video required? The camera?
Yes.
Okay, give me 1 second. Trying to figure out how to turn it on. Does that work? Okay.
No.
You would raise your right hand, please, to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Weed, you may inquire.
Sir, if you could, please state your name
Name's William Yeager.
and your occupation.
I work with the Tallahassee Police Department.
All right. Were you on duty with the Tallahassee Police Department on July 29th of 2019 at around 9:30 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
At that time, did you respond to a 1021 Preston Street in Tallahassee, Florida?
Yes, sir, I did.
And why did you respond to that address?
If I remember correctly, I was in the area of Frenchtown, Dewey and Dover, and I heard over the radio dispatch advising that shots were heard in that area, given that address specifically. And due to my close proximity of the area to Preston Street, I just responded.
All right. And when you arrived at 1021 Preston Street, did you arrive there alone, or was there any other officers there?
There were other officers that were arriving with me.
All right. And do you know who those other officers were?
The first ones that I can remember off the top of my head were Officer Britt, and then eventually my sergeant at the time was Sergeant Scott Angulo.
Okay. So, and whenever you say Officer Britt, would that be Officer Stephen Britt?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, upon, excuse me, I'm sorry. Upon arriving at the residence, what did you do?
Upon arriving to the residence, myself and Officer Stephen Britt arrived at the same time in the front of the house. I don't believe we saw any numerics of the house, so it took us a minute to figure out that we were at the right one. Once we figured out we were at the right house, we approached the front screened-in porch. We were able to go through the screened-in porch and begin to attempt to make contact with anybody inside.
All right. And how did you try to make contact with somebody inside?
Given loud verbals, police, we were also knocking on the door, doing that multiple times.
Did anyone immediately come to the door and answer your calls?
No, sir.
Could you hear if anyone was inside the home?
No, sir.
Could you see any motion inside the home?
No, sir. The front door, I don't believe, had a window, and I believe all the windows had the blinds down. So it was hard to see inside.
All right. And did other officers arrive at the home while you and Officer Britt were at the front door?
Yes, sir.
All right. What did those other officers do while you and Officer Britt were at the front door?
Like I said, I remember my sergeant at the time, Sergeant Scott Angulo, also arriving, and he stood up there with myself and Officer Stephen Britt. Several other officers did arrive on scene, and because we weren't having any communication at the front door, I believe several of them began to try to make their way around to the side or back of the house to see if they could see anything.
All right.
And I don't know who those officers were.
All right. Now, eventually, did someone from inside the home answer or open the front door?
After several attempts, I believe Officer Stephen Britt believed he heard something inside, and somebody did eventually come to the front door.
All right. And could you describe the person that came to the door?
It was I would assume about a middle-aged black male. Don't remember exactly what he was wearing.
That's fine.
At the time.
But it was a male?
Yes, sir.
An adult male?
Yes, sir. An adult male.
All right. And then what happened when this adult male answered the door?
We began to talk to him, and upon him opening the door and I had my flashlight out, I pointed my flashlight at him, and I could see that he had blood on his arm. At that point, Officer Britt started talking to him, and then I could see through the doorway a female laying down on the ground.
All right. And when you say laying on the ground, was that on the floor inside the home?
Yes, sir.
All right. And could you, did this woman on the, or this female on the floor, did she appear to have any injuries?
Yes, sir.
All right. Could you describe what you saw?
It appeared that her right hand was severely injured, and she had a large wound to her upper left thigh,
All right.
and she was non-responsive at the
All right.
time.
Now, after that adult male opened the door, did you go inside the home to where the injured female was?
Yes, sir.
All right. And what about the adult male that had answered the door? Were you with him or with some other officers with him?
Officer Stephen Britt stayed with him. Upon everything that I saw, I immediately pushed past them, thinking that somebody was injured.
Okay. All right. And did you go and render aid or treat the injured female?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any more interaction with the adult male that answered the door?
No, sir, I don't believe so.
All right. Now, Officer Stephen Britt that was with you, did he have a body camera on at the time?
Yes, sir.
All right. And do you know if his body camera was on and recording you and he responding to the front door of 1021 Preston Street?
Yes, sir.
All right. And have you had an opportunity to view the body cam video from Officer Britt's camera from July 29th of 2019 that shows you and he responding to the residents at 1021 Preston Street?
No, I did not review his. However, I did have a body camera myself, and I reviewed my footage. It was recording at the time.
Oh, I see. All right. All right. Well, I don't have any other questions of this witness at this time.
Oh, cross-exam.
Yes, Officer Yeager. When you were in the house, did you hear any statements being made by Mr. Haynes at all? If you were standing next-
I don't recall any statements. I do believe somebody told me what he had said while I was inside the house.
Let me ask you this. You said, just want to make sure for point of clarification, you said that it was a middle-aged male came to the door, and I'm trying to figure out, was there somebody else at the house other than Mr. Haynes? Because I wouldn't consider him a middle-aged male.
I mean, I don't know how old he is. I'm just assuming
Early 30s. I just did not know. Okay. All right. So you didn't hear any statements from Mr. Haynes saying he's trying to protect himself and his family, anything like that?
Like I said, I didn't talk to him. I believe somebody had told me that at the beginning that the dog began to attack somebody, I believe. Yes, sir.
So you didn't hear him make those things. He's defending himself and his family. You didn't hear those things.
I didn't hear him exactly come from him. No, sir.
And so you had no interaction with speaking with Mr. Haynes at all?
No, sir. Other than the initial contact at the door, and then I left Officer Britt and Mr. Haynes at the door by themselves.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And you had no contact with Ms. Perkins that was on the floor? The young lady, you had no contact with the injured party?
As far as speaking to her, no, sir. But rendering aid, yes, sir.
When you render aid, isn't it clear that she never said that Mr. Haynes ever tried to kill or harm her? Isn't that correct?
No, sir. I did not. She did not speak to me.
But I'm saying you rendered aid to her, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what I'm saying is that she never said that Mr. Haynes ever tried to kill or harm her. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir. She never said that to me.
And if you would have said that, you would have put that in your report for the prosecutor and myself to have. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anything further, Mr. Roberts?
No, I'm sorry, Your Honor. No, Your Honor. Witness with the court.
All right, thank you. Any redirect, Mr. Weed?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Officer Yeager, was Ms. Perkins, was she fully conscious whenever you were treating her?
No, sir.
All right. Was she able to talk whenever you were treating her?
No, sir. Not at all.
All right. Thank you. No more other questions.
Okay. Anything else based on that, Mr. Roberts? You're
muted, sir.
You're muted, Mr. Roberts.
I'm sorry. So your statement is that Miss Perkins was unconscious when you were talking to her or when she was in the house?
Yes, sir.
At all times, she was completely unconscious.
I began to shake her. She would not talk. I began to try to talk to her. She did not talk until I began to apply a tourniquet to her left thigh and tighten it to a point that I guess there was pain compliance. She began to moan, and then that was completely it. There was no.
And that's in your report that she was completely unconscious throughout the whole time.
I do not believe if. I do not recall. How about that? I did not have a chance to review it this morning.
No, but I'm asking you, the prosecutor asked you whether or not Miss Perkins was conscious or not conscious, and you stated she was not conscious, able to talk. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're certain about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Weed?
Well, Mr. Yeager, let me ask you this. We don't have your body cam video, but we do have the body cam video from Officer Britt, and maybe that's the best evidence. If you review that and are able to tell us if that's a true and accurate depiction of what happened at the house, would that help you?
Are you talking about from Officer Britt's camera or
Yes,
my
sir.
camera?
From Officer Britt's.
I don't believe Officer Britt ever made entry into the house because he was with Mr. Haynes. And I don't know how much of his camera captured while I was in the house with Miss, I forget her name. I apologize.
No, that's all right.
And the other officers.
And that's all right.
And just for the record, Mr. Weed, I'll have no objection to playing the video if that's the case here, because we already talked about that prior to this hearing.
Okay. Well, Your Honor, at this moment, I think we can excuse Mr. Yeager, but we would like to publish a video from Officer Britt's body cam.
Okay. Before he leaves or departs here, let me just make sure that everyone's in agreement here. There's a next exhibit that has now been marked for identification, Mr. Weed, as State's Exhibit what?
O. Are you talking about Officer Britt's?
I assume, yeah, the video will be into evidence.
Yes. State's Exhibit O, the body camera video for Officer Britt.
Okay, Officer Britt's video,
Yes.
B-R-I-T-T.
BRITT.
Okay. And that will be admitted without objection, Mr. Roberts, correct?
Yes. Now, just for clarification, Mr. Weed, was there two body cams from Officer Britt, or was it a continuation?
He turned it off and then turned it back on, so there's another piece.
Okay, all right. That's what I just wanted to make sure we're playing the one, just for argument, we're playing the one when he first comes to the door. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then he interacts with Mr. Haynes. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
No objection, Mr. Roberts?
No objection. I just wanted for that point of clarification.
Okay, the video of Britt, Officer Britt, Exhibit O is admitted, and Officer Yeager then can be excused. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Roberts, any objection?
Your Honor, no objection at all.
Okay, have a good day.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Yeager, yes, sir. And how long is this video, Mr. Weed?
Approximately 25 minutes long.
Let's take a short recess then. I have exactly 10 o'clock, reconvene at 10:10.
10:10.
10:10.
Thank you.
Okay,
Have a good day.
thank you.
Thank you.